Thank you for joining us today here at the Small Business Sit Down by Star Fox Media. My name's Jeff Fox, and I'm sitting down today with Glen Henry of Beleaf and Fatherhood, a YouTube channel. He's also a musician and a filmmaker. So thanks for sitting down with us.
Yeah, man. Glad to be here. We've been working out of the same place for a while. Mm-hmm. Probably like one of the third or fourth people moved in after you, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, man, it's great to see you guys cooking and we're cooking. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a very interesting. It's almost a year for you.
It's been a year. It's over a year. Yeah, it was August of 2019 for me.
Oh yeah, then you're only a month behind me.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
really close.
Yeah,
man, time flies.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's beautiful. Well, the first thing we usually like to do when we sit down is go over kind of your like what you wanted to be when you grew up and like early life kind of stuff. So take it away. Like when you were growing up, what did you want to be a YouTuber? What was it that you wanted to do?
You want to go through the hero's journey, huh?
I want to go through the hero's journey.
Yeah. So, man, I really wasn't ambitious a lot. I like to watch a lot of TV, and so I would always have like ideas, but I never saw any black filmmakers. So I was just like, I don't think black people do that. You know what I'm saying? And so eventually when, they ask you that question, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? You kind of do things that your parents have already mentioned. Like you say things that, would you want to be a doctor or a lawyer? And I'm like, sure. You know what I mean? And so I never really had to think for myself, but I've always kind of thought that I would be on stage at some point, and so, grew up in an abusive home, like little, kind of like the childhood traumas of not really knowing where I fit in. Grew up with my mom. My dad lived in California. It was like joint custody, And so,
where did you grow up?
Baltimore, Maryland.
Very cool.
Yeah. So born and raised Baltimore, Maryland. Come out here during the summertime. I turned 13, turned like 12 or 11, like ended up moving to California for like middle school. Met my best friend Garrett Marks, who's who's a filmmaker, director out here. But back then he was just like, working at Long Beach. You know what I'm saying? Going to school at Long Beach, and he would come home on the weekends and take me to church. Once I had grew up and moved back. So let me start that. So 13, I moved out here, met Garrett Marks, went back to Baltimore, and then eventually at 19 moved back out here. And that's when me and Garrett linked back up, and he was, working at Cal State Long Beach as a student, trying to figure out what he wanted to do with film. And he would take me to church on the weekends because I didn't really have no car. I ain't had nothing to do. So he took me to church. And basically, I met some people at church and they were rappers. And then, I started like DJing for them. Never picked up the turntables ever. You know what I'm saying? But God just kind of gave me the gift immediately. And then, started DJing, rapping, and doing that for like, man, I want to say like 10 years. Met my wife as a DJ. She went to Point Loma Nazarene. Yeah. So I met her there, like DJing for one of like the step shows or something like that. And then, got married like 2 years later, had a couple kids, and I was still rapping and stuff like that. And things were moving forward with music pretty well. But I had my first two sons, right? And I was working and rapping and just kind of living that life. And I realized that I would have to leave home and travel in order to make money. Like that's how you make money as an MC. And so I realized that the biggest stage I'd really ever stand on, the place I would impact most would be my living room, not any other stage. Yeah. So I decided to not do that anymore and stay home, be a stay-home dad. Did that. And then I just started posting videos on Instagram. People told me I should start a YouTube channel. And then that's kind of like...
When was it? How long ago was this?
Yeah, so this was 2015, October. I started the YouTube channel 2015, October, yeah.
Very nice.
So it's been 5 years, yeah.
And how amazing has that growth been?
Yeah, it's been interesting. It's been a lot because like you don't really know... Like one is like, I'm always like kind of the supportive role, right? So I've been the DJ for the rapper, and I've been the rapper in a rap group, and the stay-at-home dad, to my wife and her stay-at-home dad and husband. to my wife and our children. And then you start the YouTube channel and you really hope that people believe in you.
Yeah.
And nobody does.
Right.
Because, it's a YouTube channel about fatherhood, and fatherhood is like one of the most slept on things in the world. You know what I mean? Like Father's Day is one of the worst holidays. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm just saying in general, we don't tend to celebrate fathers as much as we do other people, And so, it's been quite a beautiful journey because I've had to realize that when like you have an idea or a gift or a dream, right? Like it's your responsibility to manifest that. It's not other people's responsibility to believe in that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like they can believe in what you manifested, but your idea, you kind of got to manifest something out of it. It's between you, you know what I'm saying? Your dream and God or whatever. So I just was like, I'm just working toward this thing and really trying to see, what happens with it. And then it just became like, I started to see the comments in the comment section, and you got like 12-year-old kids saying like, I never wanted to be a dad until I saw this, oh, my dad left me and I can't wait to be a dad. You know what I mean? Or like, I haven't talked to my dad in 8 years and I just watched this video and I gave him a call. Thank you. You know what I'm saying?
That's amazing.
So we're talking about reconciliation. And when you start to experience that with your audience, then you don't really need a cosign from anybody else,
Right. Absolutely.
So it's been quite the journey. Now, I didn't know your question was how has the journey been? Yes. I don't know if you're talking about numerically, like numbers wise or.
Well, a little bit of everything. I mean, we don't have to get too deep into numbers and all that kind of stuff on here, but the journey itself is like, I mean, that's what life's about, right?
Yeah. Because it's like, it's a very emotional thing that's close to my heart. But in the beginning, I'll tell you this is really what kicked it off. I was laying in the bed with my wife. It's like 11:30. She's like, yo, tell me a bedtime story. I'm like, it's 11:30 at night. Like I gotta wake up in the morning. I gotta, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not a bedtime storyteller.
Right.
Not a good one anyway. I read your book. So anyway, she's like, well, tell me what's your 5-year plan? And I was like, I don't know, whatever God has for us or whatever. And she goes, I trust you with my family and my future, and you don't have 5 years planned out. And she rolled over and went to sleep. Now I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
Because she hit me where it hurt. She told me, basically, she said, how am I supposed to follow a man or like even let you do anything if you don't have a plan? Like, what is your plan? And I could not sleep. I was stayed up and I was like, what is a 5-year plan? And I hung out with one of my homeboys and he was like, what's up, man? Like, I'm like, yo, I need you to help me figure out a 5-year plan. And he's like, okay, cool. What's your 5-year plan? I said, I don't know. He said, what's your 10-year plan? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Right? So I'm like, I don't know. He's like,
why do you think I'm sitting down with you and asking you? Like,
Exactly. So he was like, what's your 15-year plan? And I was like, oh, I know that in 15 years, I don't want to be rapping anymore. And he's like, okay, what do you want to be doing? I said, I want to be telling people how great it is to be a father.
Wow.
And he was like, okay, so who are the people you want to be speaking to? I was like, well, they're probably in middle school. He was like, well, where's their attention? Like, where are they at right now? I was like, oh, they're online, internet, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. He's like, okay, well, how often do you have to post on those platforms consistently to grow in 15 years? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, how much money do you want to make in 15 years? I was like, $300,000. You know what I'm saying?
Like specifically, exactly.
Yes. I was like, that much I think that'll do. And then he goes,
not a penny more, not a penny less.
And so he goes, okay, how do you want to make that money? I said, I want to be speaking and writing books. He said, I think that's actually doable. He said, okay, so how often do you have to post on these platforms to grow? And so we just looked it up. It was like a simple blog post.
Yeah.
If you want to grow, you got to post twice a day on Twitter, once a day on Instagram, once a week on YouTube. These were the numbers back then.
Yeah.
And so he was like, well, let's just work backwards. If you start doing this now, in 15 years, you'll probably hit your mark. And I said, okay. It took me like 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years later, I hit every single goal. Did my first TED Talk, put out my first book.
It's amazing.
You know what I'm saying?
It didn't take 15, it took 2.
It took 2.
That's so crazy.
Yeah. I think, I guess I hit around 70,000 subscribers on YouTube. Then like that next year, I hit 100. And so, the relationship starts to come because you have a wide open market, right?
Yeah.
You got a couple fatherhood YouTubers, none of them are as like, I'm a 4 on the Enneagram. I don't know if you know the Enneagram stuff, but like I'm a 4 on the Enneagram. So my stuff, like I like to go deep. I don't like surface talk.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I like depth.
Yes. I mean, I've definitely watched some of your content, and it's definitely like, I mean, you don't pull any punches. You go into the emotional stuff. You go into the, like, you know, the really pull at the heartstrings and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah. And that's basically where I live and I exist. And so when you watch the channel, you experience that. And so what we see in a lack of representation, right? You have your funny guys, you have your adventurous guys, you have your guys who want to look cool.
Yeah.
And then you got a guy like me who didn't know how to use a camera, didn't know how to I didn't know how to edit like that either. You know what I'm saying? So but I was a big fan of Casey Neistat, right?
Yeah.
The big YouTuber.
Yes.
One thing Casey said is it's not about the equipment you have, it's about the story you tell.
Right.
Now I know from hip hop, I'm a pretty good storyteller.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I could write anything.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well,
I would say that there's probably a lot of overlap there, because I mean, like, again, if you're going into like a visual storytelling thing, like, you know, hip hop and music is basically audio storytelling. So,
exactly.
So do you think that helped a lot when you were doing that?
Man, heck yeah, because it was like I realized that, oh, I'm not a rapper, I'm a storyteller. So I'm just changing my medium.
Yeah.
And then what I started doing was I started writing songs about the videos, and I would put them in the videos. So it was like I had this really unique skill, which some people would call, like, if you're looking for an investment, people will say, what's your unfair advantage, right? And my unfair advantage is that I could write songs really, really fast.
Yeah.
So I decided to pour everything I was good at inside of my YouTube channel. So I didn't have any money for a camera, so I used broken iPhones, which were, you know, the screens were broke, but the cameras worked.
Yeah.
And so I'd put those in the headrest and take off with the kids, and we'd be driving, and I get all the scenes, you know, it was like 120 frames per second. You know what I'm saying? I'm slowing things down at the park. I did as much as I could. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then I had the subtitles on the screen, because it's hard for people to understand what kids are saying. So I had the subtitles popping up on the screen. Yeah. And those were unfair advantages that I brought to the table. And so people really gravitated toward, like, just the difference, right? It was just like, man, this guy's like really trying. And so my first goal was like, all right, before I even start, I want to get 1,000 subscribers, which is really hard. Yeah. But I had really good relationships with people because I did music for so long. So there was a poetry, the largest poetry event in the world. It was called P4CM, and I had a commercial playing during their event. And that got me like 400 subscribers, and I just kept promoting, and then I dropped October 19th, 2015, and then like 2 videos later, it like went viral, and I was just like, oh,
yeah, oh,
I was like, oh, this is possible. Yeah. And then it didn't matter what no one said.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It was real.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, I just saw a glimpse, and that's all I needed to see.
Did you have a number in mind? Like, this is how many subscribers? You said 1,000 before you would want to start, and you only got the 400, but you still did it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I feel like that's one of the hardest things for people is to start.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, even when we were doing this podcast, I think we had talked about doing it for like 3+ months of like, I mean, we have some guests available in here in the office building that are all willing to do it. We have the room, we have the equipment, like, let's just do it. And it's like, okay, yeah, like, yeah, let's just do it. And then like 3 months goes by and you haven't done anything. And then one day, Sean actually, I think, said, why don't we just do it next Thursday? And I was like, I don't have a guest yet. He's like, let's just do it. We'll find someone. Like, put it on the schedule. Book the room.
Yeah.
We booked the room. I asked Jim, the office owner, like, to basically, I was like, hey, I mean, we're renting the room from you. Do you mind sitting down with me and like doing a podcast? It's like, what's it about? I'm like, I have no idea. So
yeah.
And we're like, I just want to talk to business owners. Like, you know, for my part, I love entrepreneurship. Like, everything I do, it kind of revolves around that. Like, I went to school for marketing and business administration, and the reason was like, I just want to start companies. I want to like have ideas. I want to make things. I want to take ideas and turn them into something real.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I'm necessarily a very creative person, but I think my creativity is more in the lines of taking something and making it better, more than coming up with something novel. Yeah. So I love working in teams with people and having that creative back and forth where I can just kind of figure out like, okay, I love, like, that's a really good idea. You know, now let's just, like, if we're trying to get here and we have this, why don't we just do tweak this and it'll be there.
Yeah, people like you are super valuable. That right there, because like you could take a creative who was limited by their thoughts and ideas, and they're just saying like, I know what it looks like when it's on paper, but then what do you do after that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like so many people have the gift or the talent to make something, but they don't know what to do with it afterwards. And having someone like you is valuable. I have someone similar on my team, Jason, basically who we have him on retainer. You know what I mean? He comes in and just infiltrates, because we only think to like this, what is going to get the video done?
Right.
And he's like, no, what's going to help the overall story for this entire season and go along with the brand book that we created. You know what I'm saying? So he's bringing like the whole enchilada to just my thoughts. You know what I mean? I'm trying to finish the video. He's trying to like build a brand, and it's totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like my first start out of college was I actually ended up in the film industry randomly. So I did an internship with a guy. He was an author. He wrote a book. I was just helping him do publicity work out of marketing classes. He ended up starting a film company.
Nice.
So like I was interning with him. Then it basically switched over to a film company. He's like, hey, we just started this up. Can you just do some data entry for us? I'm like, well, yeah, I can go through a stack of business cards, put them into an Excel sheet. Like, sure, why not? And ended up working with him for, I technically still work with him. Like, I still have the film company. But, that was over, like 8 years ago.
Wow.
So like, and basically since then, like, he actually ended up leaving the company. I still work with his partner who he started it with. And now we're business partners on it. We run it together. I run all the operations for it.
Look at you. That's a come up right there, boy.
It's really cool. And so like, and I ended up I didn't think I wanted to be in entertainment. Like, I like finance. I like numbers. I like, hard, tangible, like technology, right?
Yeah.
But when I was doing the film industry stuff, there was just every project was like this concept, this idea. And I basically got to work with a bunch of creative people that had all these ideas, and I got to help them try to turn that into something tangible.
Yeah.
And there was a finished product, and you could hold it in your hands like with the DVD, or like go out and seeing it in theaters, and like, see the names up there and everything. It was like, this is basically serial entrepreneurship.
Yes.
And I have a feeling that, running a YouTube channel is almost like that, because every video, everything you do is like, it's its own product. Every video is almost like its own story. It has its own, like, you're trying to make something for your audience that they'll love.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is that like when I was working on music, like I was like, yo, this thing is like, I'm working on an album, so I'm spending like 9 months working on an album. So I might write 50 to 100 songs, but only like 12 or 15 make the album. Making a YouTube channel is like writing an album in a week.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So every week I put out an album. I write a song for it. I have to figure out the location. I have to figure out the plot, the story. I have to figure out who's the highlight of the story. I have to figure out a bunch of different things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That, it's literally like, and then that thing just goes right out. Like it doesn't sit in a, hey, we're gonna have a viewing of it, and we're gonna try to figure out like how we're gonna promote it. It's like, nah, it goes up.
Yeah.
And here's the Instagram cuts. And so now, like I started, it was just me in there first.
Yep.
Me and George was working for someone else. I was just like, man, just come in here with me, man. And now I have like 4 or 5 employees.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's the dream.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the success story that, everyone kind of goes for. So
yeah.
And success wise, you've been putting out the channel. It's been growing like crazy. Like you're killing it, obviously. And from that, we've been talking, and I've seen a couple like opportunities come up since then. And from that, where you've done speaking things, you've done, you were in a feature film recently?
Yes. Yeah. I was in the documentary called Dads. It's an Apple TV Plus documentary. It's produced and directed by Bryce Dallas Howard. It features her family, which is Ron Howard, her brother Reese. Not so much of her sister, but really just the men in the family. And it's actually paid for by Dub Men Plus Care. And so there was a huge effort. And so Bryce wanted to highlight the fact that her husband was very nurturing when her child came. And the nurturing gene didn't come to her right away. It came to her husband first. And it's just like this weird thing that dads experience where it's kind of like, you stay over there, I'll do the baby stuff, you know. And even her father was very nurturing. And then she starts to go through all these conversations with a bunch of different comedians. You have Neil Patrick Harris, you have Conan O'Brien, you have Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel, you have Will Smith. You have a lot of these other men who are giving their stories, and I was one of the hero dads in the story.
Wow!
So I was the first dad they showed. So it was pretty awesome opportunity. And then from that, my relationship with Dumb Men Plus Care has been like one of the most awesome things because I get to actually advise them on how they're embracing the Black community, you know, in some of their stuff, you know what I mean? So when all the stuff was going on, you know what I mean, later on, earlier in May with George Floyd, we had an effort called Fathers Taken. And basically it was a fund that Dumb Men Plus Care like donated $1 million to families that were affected by police brutality. So it's like, now I was a voice on the voiceover for that commercial that played during like the Emmys. Like, it's like stuff like that. It's kind of like, man, and these are things that I've addressed, like, hey, these companies need to have someone on their side talking to them about these issues because you guys are missing the mark here. You know what I mean? And because I've been so forward in my approach and just kind of like, man, I might lose a relationship, I might not. It's kind of gotten me employed in some ways. Yeah. So the movie was a big deal. I'm trying to think what else happened. I was on Oprah like in the beginning of June or something like that, because I had that conversation with my sons about being Black in America and what that means, you know, how to talk to the police and all that stuff. And it was kind of awkward, you know, like awkward moments there. That same conversation, I was like in the live Zoom with 100 different fathers. And wow. It was like me, Tyler Perry, Courtney B. Vance, and Shaka Signor or whatever. And it's just like these amazing people who I wouldn't ever get a chance to meet. And also Killer Mike was there. You know, I just was on the Steve Harvey show. I think that comes out next week. And then I had a conversation with Michelle Obama, you know what I mean? Which is, you know, and her trying to get people to vote and stuff like that. She, you know, thought I was worthy of talking to, you know what I mean? Like her team did. And grateful. Yeah. You know, it's a lot of success, but grateful to be in that position. And I don't really know how to handle it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of like, I don't know why this is happening to me. Right. You know, but it's interesting that when like things are going well in that way, like your life starts to fall apart. Interesting. Yeah. And here I go getting deep. No one asked for it. But yeah, life has been super difficult. Yeah. The conversations I've been having with my wife, the conversations I've been having with friends. Sometimes your community can't hold up, you know, some of the worries that you have, and you have to invest in friendships that understand your mental, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know if you can attest to that, but I think one thing about, and I don't know, you know, how many of your audience would understand the Black perspective in this way, but I'll explain it. Like, you know, I am also, as a creative, I am like representing Black people. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Which is like, no one asked me to do that. Right. But a lot of Black people experience that, where they're kind of like, you kind of represent us. So you get
put into a place where you're on a, like, you know, where you're an example. Exactly. So then you end up having to speak for communities that you're like, oh, am I ready? Like, why me? What am I doing? Like,
yeah. And everything you do, like so it's like the more, you know, success you have or like position you've been put into, sometimes the less freedom you have to say some of your, you know, the things you think or whatever. And it's just this weird, I'm in this weird limbo where it's kind of like, man, I said $300,000 is all I wanted. But now it's kind of like, bro, you got a couple employees. Things are going to change. You have to have an office space. You can't do it out of your garage anymore. You know what I mean? So it's different. Yeah. It's very different.
I mean, as the responsibilities and everything, I mean, it's just like, it's a lot more on your shoulders. And it's like, now it's not just yourself that you're trying to support. Now it's you're supporting your family, you're supporting your employees, you know, there's more expenses that are, you know, bills and everything. So
it's weird, man.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm grateful. Yeah. You know, I'm very grateful. I don't know how I'm handling it. I think what I need right now, and I know I need, is mentor. Yeah. Like, so I hold like my family, right? And I feel very responsible, of course, for my wife. And then it's like my team, but then like, where am I laying down my burdens?
Right.
So I'm walking around with other people's burdens, the burden of fatherhood, Black fatherhood. You know what I'm saying? And I have my own issues and anxieties when I go outside, but I don't have no place to lay it down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I think that's what's probably getting to me in this stage. You know, so I know you see me in here, man. I don't really talk to nobody.
No.
I'm very like, I came here for a purpose. As soon as I leave here, I have to go back. Like my wife has a night off tonight. Thursday's her night off.
Yeah.
So I have to go home soon and give her a relief. You know what I'm saying? Not anytime soon, but like, yeah, like to give her relief so that she can have her night off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, things pulling you in a bunch of different directions.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think you were talking earlier today that, you know, you have another project you're working on that's just like very, very abrupt. Like you got
deadlines
and stuff.
Man, YouTube hit us up. So basically, Spring Hill Productions, which is run by Maverick. I can't remember his last name. Maverick Carter. So he's LeBron James' best friend. He runs the Uninterrupted show where like Obama was just on there. You know, everyone's on there. You know what I'm saying? And so Jamila Jordan is the producer. She's Michael B. Jordan's sister, you know, and YouTube is like giving us funds to make this film. And we were kind of like, what can we do? And they wanted us to kind of tackle the like telling your Black children about what it means to be Black. And I was like, that is actually more traumatic than not. And I don't feel like doing that again. So let's make a narrative, right? So I got my videographer, head of production for Beleaf and Fatherhood, George, writing the script. I'm overseeing everything. We got Dallas working, we got Jed working. And yeah, we have to knock out a film in 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, as someone who's worked in the film industry and I've seen projects take 9 months plus, you know, for things like that, like I'm just like, that is fast. Yeah,
and it's just like we don't know that we can't. We don't know that we can. We don't know that we can't. Yeah. We just kind of like, I don't know, you know.
Honestly, maybe that's better.
Yeah, I think so, because like what it is kind of like only thing we're trying not to mess around with is gaffers in audio.
Yeah.
You know, I trust George like crazy with the camera. I'm pretty picky when it comes to you know, just kind of picking out certain things or whatever. But like one thing I don't want to mess with is lighting. Like lighting has to be on point. Yeah. So we just got that, and we have another announcement coming soon. We're going to be working with a huge company for the next 5 months, and so can't wait to kind of disclose that. But yeah.
Oh, exciting.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna put you on the spot here though.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So there's kind of two big things that I think I'd like to ask you about, which is if you were to try to talk to someone who wanted to be a YouTuber, what kind of advice would you give them as someone who's starting off now?
I think that comparison robs you, you know, and I think that it's like the thief of joy. So it like you can look at my numbers, you can look at your friends' numbers or Casey Neistat and be like, why aren't my videos getting any views? But it's really about serving your audience. You know what I'm saying? So don't compare yourself to others. I would say is try not to, but we're people. We do that all the time. But I would say like really embrace the 400, 200, 100 views that you do get, because you're able to engage with those people in a way that I can't, you know, and it's a cost to everything. Right. And so if you are consistent, you keep at it and, you know, things go up for you. There is a cost that you're not necessarily thinking about yet. And that cost could potentially be more than you're willing to give, you know, and sometimes that looks like you might have to let go of some friendships, you know, because they don't really understand why you always have a camera. You know what I'm saying? You know, owning a business doesn't mean that you get to make your own schedule. You know what I mean? Like you own a business, the business makes your schedule.
Yes.
You know,
you need to be, well, for me, I need to be there when my clients need me to be there.
Yeah. Yeah. So they make your schedule.
Yeah. They make my schedule.
And then it's like, you know, like don't expect people to understand like what the hustle, cause it's a grind. Like for me to be able to do something on time and my family, I have to be up late or be up early, You know what I mean? And so some people, like if you start a business, right, people will be proud of you, maybe, but they definitely won't understand, right? If you're in law school or if you're fighting in a war in a way, like people get it, you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But like if you have a dream and you're trying to make that thing come to fruition, just come on, like forget that. And then you start to see people take things personal when you like, I really want to do this thing, you know? And so, yeah, those are a couple things.
Yeah. I definitely see you hustling too. Like you're up there working usually a lot of times before I get here and a lot of times after I go home. So
Yeah.
like you definitely hustle on that. And so then the second piece that I think is also just as important for people is what would the advice be to someone who is a new father?
Yeah.
So I have a friend who just had I think he's a daughter who is now 4 months old, I believe. So, you know, as his first kid.
Yeah. He's just getting out of the 4th trimester, which is kind of the hardest. Yeah, man. I just say, you know, slow down. You know, those years, like the early years, they happen so fast. You know, from like the first year of a baby's life, they actually grow more than they'll ever grow, you know, ever, you know. And so they go from like barely opening their eyes to walking in a year.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so I just would say, like, just stop and just like look and watch and just look.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just be enamored with their life. I think in the first year we want to hustle so bad because it's kind of like, we can't let this fall apart. Go, man. You got to do it, you know? And it's just kind of like, man, if I could get it all back, I would just spend time just gazing and watching my children and smelling them and enjoying the time that they want to cuddle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because my youngest son is around 16 months now, and he don't want to cuddle no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a thing. He's like, he's not having it. You know what I mean? And those like that like attention and connection and affection is like so small, you know? But the funny thing is now my 7-year-old is like, let's cuddle, dude. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, it's not as comfortable, but I still cuddle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, like, yeah, it's great. Fatherhood is amazing.
Yeah. Well.
Oh, here's another thing.
Yeah.
Like, establish early that dad's way isn't incorrect. Okay. So sometimes in relationships, dad's way can be wrong. You know what I mean? Like, you know, because we allow, I'm just generalizing here, but you know, it can be a thing where when dads try to do something, it's too rough or it's not neat, but sometimes that's okay. You know what I mean? And so fail forward, I would say. Yeah, sorry about that. I had to jump that one.
No,
in
I
there.
love it. I love it. It's good stuff. I mean, honestly, like I could sit down and just talk about this stuff forever. I feel like you have a lot of stuff to like, a lot of information and a lot of
because I don't be talking to nobody, man.
experience. I know, honestly, like this is the longest I've gotten to talk to you in a year. So, but I mean, that shows you how much you have to hustle. So.
Yeah, man. And I don't necessarily like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not something that is like, you know, like I want people to like think I'm approachable.
Yeah.
But I can't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get a minute. I mean, but we've hung out a little bit in the kitchen and stuff.
Yeah.
When you have to take a break anyway, you know. That's important too.
It is. And I need to learn how to do that. For the first time I took a break, I took 2 days off and I literally just slept because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I was like sitting there like, and I like slept. And then you know how you sleep too long, you get sick?
Yeah.
That's what happened. So I
when
won't
you take the 2-hour nap and wake up with a headache and like all dehydrated
exactly.
and feel way worse than you did before you went to sleep.
Man, 30 will do that to you.
Yeah.
After 30, it just goes pretty much downhill. So
I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with us today.
Heck yeah, man.
Let's, if you want to find Glen on the internet, let's see, could you share your,
yeah,
where
sure.
to find you?
Beleaf in Fatherhood, BELEAF.com, YouTube, Instagram is BELEAFMEL, Beleaf Mel on Twitter and Facebook. So, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Yeah, you find me there. We could talk. Yeah, and anything else, you could hit up Dallas at beleafandfatherhood.com. She'll get us on the schedule.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.